Hello, welcome to Frank's School. I'm going on with my imaginary movie. This is the 15th video devoted to it. I'm going to review the characters because I'm going to go on with the story. This is not going to go on forever. I think maybe it'll take me about a week more and I will have finished it. But before I go back to the story, as of the end of Act 1 or the very beginning of Act 2, here are the main characters. But before I do that, socalcos is the word I was looking for in Portuguese. Boy, that's a hard word for me to come up with, but that is exactly the word for the terraces. If you would Google that, you'll see put images, socalcos, and you'll see beautiful pictures of these, not the abandoned ones that are derelict, I don't think, but the ones that are finished. You know, who knows how old they are? People really don't know. They could come all the way from the time of the Romans. So you could say in a way that this movie was begun by the Romans. And I wrote down Harvard here because there's just no doubt about it. All my life I have been swept up with the back to the land idea. I went to Harvard. I graduated from Harvard, an English major. That was for 4 years. I lived in a city, Cambridge, Boston, Massachusetts. I hated it. I think of my grandfather. Or people used to say, you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. And I think that's what happened to me. That was wrong. So anyway, I am certainly part of that. I rejected the possibility of getting some high-paying job or powerful job in order to go back to the land. All right, anyway, the characters. The first one, the old man, Elmer Marion Finn. He comes from the Song of Marion. He was a character that was created about 40 years ago or 35 years ago. Marion is what he goes by, Elmer Marion Finn. He's an old man. He does not speak at all. He hears. He's not deaf, but he simply does not use words. And one of the reasons that the movie is wordless is because possibly the whole movie will be from his viewpoint in a way, possibly. He's a pretty major character. But his instrument is a drum, played by hand, no sticks, just but played well. That's his leitmotif. That's his instrument. The girl, the second character, is Valerie Bryn. Bryn is what she'll go by. She also is a character from the past. She was created, maybe 10 years ago in fiction by me and my students. And I could tell you more about these characters, but I actually don't want to tell you everything I know. Anyway, she's blonde, and that's important, actually. She's graceful. She has a dog. I had the old man with the dog. I think I'll have just one dog, and that's her dog, not the old man's dog. And she has goats. She has a herd of goats. Even though the man is with the goats at the beginning, they are her goats. She's got to be almost breathtakingly beautiful. You know, the casting is tricky. It would be maybe impossible to cast the movie I'm describing. Her instrument is an alto recorder. That's her timbre, and her leitmotif, whatever it would be first announced anyway on an alto recorder. A recorder like this. The third character is Festus, is his name. He's black. He's buff, or Arabic. He could be Arabic as well, or both, a mixture. Really buff, but he limps. He shaves. There's quite a bit that's maybe not likable about him. He's angry. That is so important. He's full of anger. It's apparent with him. He should be associated with metal. He is a metal worker. He's a blacksmith, but he's also a mechanic. That's his multi-tool that he's got. He smokes. At some point, he'll probably use a bong, smoking marijuana. I don't know if I spelled that right. So he doesn't only smoke tobacco. He becomes a miller, or he can become a miller, one who mills grain. His leitmotif would be played on a bassoon, and his timbre a bassoon, or something like a bassoon. It's got to be an instrument. Bassoon would be perfect. It's got to cover the bass notes, and fire is associated with him of the 4 original elements. The 4th character, Batch, he's the heavy guy that came lumbering up the hill. Food is and drink is what he's associated with. He's overweight. He's comical. There's where we get comic relief. At least that's the plan now. His leitmotif would be, and his instrument would be whistling, human whistling. How to find a brilliant whistler? You know, as I say, the casting. Whew. He's the cook, the baker, the butcher, the brewer on this aldea, and he's a master farter. He's really good at this. There's the humor, and no surprise, he's of the 4 elements. Wind is what he's associated with, and now these the leitmotifs would be shared, but the timbres different. Carrie she's a lesbian. She's the one that's from Tomar. She's from Portugal. She's tall. She's also beautiful. Tall, thin, long black hair. Different from Valerie. She's the gardener. Plants is what she's associated. She's also a seamstress. And her element is water. Her instrument is guitar. She'd have to be carrying a small guitar, I guess, on her back as she's coming. And her leitmotif would be that. And see, that will provide harmony. All right, the 6th and 7th character, they go together. They're a couple. Astrid has the cow with the calf and the cow cart. She also, we find out, within the cart has a small flock of chickens. Animals in general are associated with Astrid. I like the name. That's why I chose that name, Astrid. I simply like the name. I couldn't come up with an exact name for it, so I'll go with the name I like. She works in leather. Her leitmotif and her instrument is a violin, which, since she's got a cow cart, it's not that hard to transport. And now she's the one that arrives sickly. By the time she gets there, she is not feeling well. That's one of the conflicts involved. Her health is in question. And then her partner, Tom. Once again, I like the name, and so I said, I'm going to use the name Tom. Remember, these names would not occur in the movie. These are just so I can talk about them. They would only come at the end in the credits. People would have no idea who these, they would not have names. He's associated with wood. His axe is his instrument. Wood in all kinds. Charcoal, he makes charcoal. He's a carpenter. He repairs the rafters, and he's also a carver. His instrument is a viola, and the 2 of them together would share the leitmotif of earth. Earth, wind, water, fire. We've got them all. And in my mind, I base him on a German man I met once named Kalle. I won't write his whole name down because he's a master carver, although he uses a chainsaw. All right, there's a summary of the characters going into Act 1. Bye for now.